welcome to another deep dive. You know how this works, right? You give us the sources, and we jump right in, pulling out the most interesting parts and the things that'll really make you think. Today, we're looking at something, a project, actually, you sent us.
Yeah, definitely unique.
For sure. It's a book called Unleashed the Devil's Bible, and it's really caught our attention.
It's a fascinating one for sure.
Yeah, and you know what makes this even more interesting? We've got excerpts from the book itself, along with, get this, a query letter from the publisher.
Almost like getting two sides of the same story.
Exactly. So our mission here is to break this down piece by piece, really understand what this book is about, what the author was going for, what the publisher saw in it, and how these two viewpoints come together.
Yeah, because right off the bat, you see how differently the author and the publisher framed this book.
It's wild.
Yeah, it really makes you think about, the whole process of getting a book out there, into the world, and how a single story can be told or interpreted even in such different ways.
Okay, so let's start with the author's perspective, diving straight into these excerpts from Unleashed.
Okay, let's do it.
First thing you see, the author uses the pseudonym M.A.M.
Okay.
And the subtitle is just, wow, the Devil's Bible. Right there, you know it's going to be interesting.
You know you're in for a ride.
Yeah. And the book's described as a reverent masterpiece, which already seems like a bit of a contradiction, and then it gets even better. It's 98% truth and 2% fiction, and supposedly the most omnipotent, riveting anecdote ever to be released in this age. This author is not holding back.
No subtlety there. That 98% truth claim, that's bold.
Right.
Almost like they're daring you to question it. And the setting they choose, small farm in Mattawamkeag, Maine. Then you add in how they describe the Marbello family, their unorthodox lifestyle, lustful adultery, incest, molestation, and homosexual activity. You just know this is going to be a dark story. It's like they're setting a very specific and kind of disturbing stage.
Oh, yeah. And then enter the demon.
Here we go.
But not just any demon. This is Morbos, an antediluvian demon. And get this, he was already a fan of the Marbello family's sinful ways, even before he was conceived.
Wow.
And his big plan is to be born as Marcus Marbello so he can use the power he stole from Satan. It's like a demonic origin story, but set within this messed up family drama.
And the backstory they give Morbos, it's not just, oh, he's a demon, done.
Right.
They go all in. He was Satan's vampiric demon paramour, his right-hand man called Denali. And then he betrays Lucifer, steals the Book of Death, which they also call the Devil's Bible. And the author really plays up how much Morbos, relished tricking Satan before being born into this family. It's like they're building this whole intricate mythology right within the story.
And then comes this wild claim. Morbos was actually born on Earth like any other human.
What?
Yeah, and they use this analogy like, if you can believe that maggots and flies are drawn to filth, then you should believe in Armageddon.
Okay.
And what they call premeditated ceremonious exsanguinations, they actually use parentheses and put death bites. It's a lot. It's
intense. That death bites thing, that's a powerful image, really vivid, like some kind of spiritual draining, a loss of life force linked to evil. It's like they're trying to connect something very everyday, even gross, to this huge, almost cosmic battle.
Yeah. It's dark. And then it gets even wilder. In the About the Author section, MAM straight up says they are Morbos. They even tell you how to say it, Morbosai. And they say this demonic entity has never left Earth since, first coming here in a form you couldn't even see, only feel.
It's like they're leaning hard into this persona, not just telling a fictional story, but saying, I am this demon. This is my story. It really makes you wonder, how is a reader supposed to take that?
Totally. And then this, demon author explains that demons feed on human souls. Like, literally, that's how they get their power. And Morbos says he was feeding on his own father's soul before he was even born.
Whoa.
And his ultimate goal, to have his own human body, he calls it a demon in human vampire form, Marcus Antony Marbello. But with the demon, Morbos, always inside.
Oh, so it's like a double identity thing.
Yeah, like two beings in one body. And then they introduce possessor demons, adding this whole other layer.
Okay, this is getting complicated.
I know, right? They describe them through sensations, cold spots, bad smells, feeling like you're being watched.
Creepy.
Total nightmare fuel. And they say these possessor demons can read minds and zero in on your weaknesses. It's taking the classic idea of demonic possession and making it really personal.
Yeah, I see that.
So why write all this? According to the author, to reveal these big truths that we're all blind to. We have a right to know them, they say. It's pretty intense. It's like they're saying this isn't just a story, it's a message straight from a demon.
That's quite the hook, a demonic expose, basically.
Exactly. Okay, ready for the publisher's side?
Hit me.
All right, so we've got this query letter from Yvonne Rainey, who owns Beginning to End Publishing. She's trying to find an agent for this, as she puts it, very controversial book.
Yes.
This is back in 2009. And you know what she says. Don't judge a book by its cover. Which, with a title like that, you kind of have to wonder.
I mean, yeah, it's not the most inviting title.
Not exactly, but she says they were hesitant at first, but after meeting MAM in 2002, they were absolutely blown away by the actual story. But here's where things get interesting. They describe the book as sci-fi mixed with fiction, about a bisexual man's journey of being open about his sexuality at a young age, growing up in, and I quote, the Bible-thumping belt of Tennessee on a small farm in Sevierville. No mention of demons.
That's quite a shift.
Right. Total different vibe. Same book, but now it's a human story, a coming-of-age tale almost. It makes you think about how the same material can be spun in such different directions.
This is a huge reframing. They completely changed the focus, right? It's not about the supernatural anymore.
No.
It's about a very human experience. They talk about the author facing emotional and physical torture and ridicule for being bisexual, being labeled the devil by religious fanatics. And suddenly you have this whole different context for what the book might be about.
Totally. And then they explain the title. Unleashed isn't about some demon breaking free, but about something caged in the author's soul for years, even before he was born. And now it's finally being released through this story.
Interesting.
Yeah. And the Devil's Bible becomes about accepting that label, being called the devil, but knowing internally that he's a child of God struggling with stuff, inner afflictions, they call it. And Bible is described as like his truthful testimony. It's really interesting how they take those same elements and give them this whole new meaning.
They're taking something that's fantastical, right? And making it a metaphor for very human struggles, like societal prejudice. It's like Morbos represents a past self, maybe a way for the author to work through their identity and what they went through.
Yeah, I can see that.
And you see this all the time in publishing. Taking something that might be a bit niche or even controversial and finding a way to make it relatable, marketable even.
Totally. And the publisher's version of Morbos' backstory, also different. He's still Lucifer's right-hand imp in hell, enforcing this glowing book of rules, which is, of course, the Devil's Bible. But his goal is the same. Betray Lucifer.
Okay.
And his trips to Earth are to check out the family he's destined to join. A family full of, and I quote, lust, incest, and a dad who was an in-the-closet homosexual. They actually call it the perfect family for him and the Devil's Bible to end up with. Like they're playing up this whole hidden lives and secrets thing.
It's a complete 180 from the author's version, right? But the core stuff is still there. The demon, the book, the unconventional family. But the meaning's completely different. The publisher's aiming for a different audience, I think. One that's looking for stories about identity and overcoming challenges.
Yeah, and the publisher clearly thinks this book could be a big hit.
They see the dollar signs.
Right. They even compare it to books like Angels and Demons and Drag Me to Hell, and they talk about the physical book itself. It's fancy, blue cover, gold edges, color pictures, red quotes from the Bible next to blue quotes from the Devil's Bible.
Wow. They went all out.
They did. And get this, they mentioned that the character, Saint Markus, was actually featured on the Today Show. A Halloween special, no less. It's just this little detail, but it really makes you wonder about how much of this was, like, performance.
That Today Show thing is interesting. It implies that there was already some public interest in this whole story. Maybe the author was already playing this character, you know?
Yeah.
And the publisher was either trying to use that or maybe distance themselves from it when pitching the book.
Right. And in the end, the publisher's goal is clear. Get this book in front of the big publishing houses. So we have the same book, Unleash the Devil's Bible, but two radically different ways presenting it, and probably two very different target audiences in mind.
It really shows how complicated it is to bring a book to market, you know, especially one with this kind of sensitive content and an author who's out there. The publisher clearly saw a different story within the story, so to speak. One they thought would appeal to a wider audience and fit into a more, well, familiar genre.
So let's step back and look at the big picture here. What do we have? Same title, Unleash the Devil's Bible, same central character, Morbos Marcus Marcus. Both versions deal with sexuality, and religion, though in very different ways.
Huge difference in tone.
Yeah. And even the Devil's Bible itself has multiple meanings. For the author, it seems to be this real dangerous object tied to evil. But for the publisher, it's more of a symbol, rebellion, personal truth, that kind of thing.
Right. And that's one of the most striking things, isn't it? The author saying, I'm a demon, this is my true story, versus the publisher saying, this is a fictional tale about a real issue, social prejudice.
That's the big question, isn't it? Is the author serious about being a demon? Or is it all an act? And is the publisher just trying to make the book more palatable for a mainstream audience?
It's a really interesting case study, don't you think?
Absolutely.
This one book, Unleash the Devil's Bible, being presented as a demon's memoir on one hand and a fictional story with a social message on the other, makes you think about the power of interpretation, doesn't it?
It really does. How much does the perspective we're given shape our understanding of a story? And what does it say about the different ways stories can be told and received?
It's all about perspective,
Yeah.
It makes you think, is the author being genuine, or is this just a creative choice, a way to get at bigger themes? And is the publisher consciously reshaping the narrative, maybe toning down the more shocking stuff to make it more marketable? It's a question for you, the listener. What do you think?
When you see these two wildly different takes on the same book, how does it change how you see the story? Does it make you more or less interested?
What's the real message here, with these two conflicting stories woven around the same characters and title?
It really shows how the way we frame a story can completely change how it's understood. And this one makes you think about identity, about prejudice, and the journey a story takes from the person who created it to the audience. Food for thought for sure. Thanks for diving in with us.